What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon.
I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close.
What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
I'm joined today with Shaylin. How you doing today? Did I pronounce it right?
You did. I'm doing great. Great to be here.
All right, awesome. And I'm really glad that you're here, but I'm even more glad. I'm gladder that my favorite audience member is here with us. And why is my favorite audience member watching this? It's because I interview commercial real estate investors, and this is what I'm up to. I'm finding out their motivation of the 5 distinct motivations I've found that really say a lot about commercial real estate investors, why they're doing their deals. And then I go through the 6 different roles in a commercial deal, and I do it on this Dan Does Deals commercial roll die. You can get your own one at dandoesdeals.com, and it's totally free. I don't even ask for your email address, which is really bad practice, but I want you to print it out. I want you to learn how to communicate on the topic of commercial real estate effectively, and that's the best thing I can do for you. But I go through these 6 different roles, and I ask my guest, what's your core competency? But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Shaylin, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So Shaylin Segura from Carson City, Nevada. So I'm fairly new to the multi-real estate industry, newbie. Started about 3 weeks ago, but diving in real quickly. My focus is looking at 75 plus units, value add, C plus, B minus properties, and looking to syndicate and possibly raise funds, enjoy underwriting. So sort of getting into the Reno and Vegas markets and building roots now.
All right, good stuff. And let's go through the motivations here, because sometimes we have people who, they haven't made any investments yet, or they don't have any experience, regardless of what it is. I find that newbies always know what their motivation is, even if they don't know the role. We'll go through the roles in a second, but the first motivation I found that investors have for wanting to make another acquisition is to preserve their purchasing power. Okay, if you rely on the cash flow that comes from your assets to make ends meet, then you have to keep on making acquisitions, because inflation is eating away at the value of the cash flow that comes from it. And the entire idea of living off of your assets is that you don't have to sell any of them. So if you are looking to preserve your purchasing power from inflation, that's what you're up to. My primary motivation, though, is I'm trading time for wealth. I've got a background in e-commerce technology, and it's actually the CRM softwares, and I've had an agency doing that with all the mass emailing and the funnels, the lead capture and whatnot. But one of the problems about even being in tech, where you're a high earner, is that it's still a wage or salary, which means that you could be giving away half of it to taxes. And so I was thinking, well, doesn't it make more sense to pivot my skills into something where my effort is rewarded in the form of equity, aka wealth, instead of just trading it for cash and giving it half of it to the government? So that's what I'm up to, is I'm trading my time directly for wealth. But many of my guests, instead, they're more interested in fast tracking retirement. And the important part about that is it basically means that they want to reduce the number of hours per week that they end up working, the number of hours per week, or the number of weeks per month, or the number of months per year. So these guys want to slow down at some point, and it might mean that they just become an accredited investor, and then they just move someplace where it has a low cost of living. But the next two groups, they definitely won't be taking any breaks ever. They're the first type, they're so ambitious, they want to buy their entire hometown. They want to have the skyscraper. They want to have the generational wealth to make sure that their great-grandchildren never have to hold a day job. So those ambitious people, that's the next different motivation they're great to have, because they're not going to be on a beach somewhere in 2 years. And the other group were, they've picked some sector of society, and they've recognized that accumulating wealth is by far the most effective vehicle to make an impact on society, or maybe it's the environment, or maybe it's animals. Who knows what it is, but I like to say they want to save the world. It's the other motivation that's out there for making more acquisitions. So, Shaylin, out of those 5 different motivations, what really resonated with you as far as like describing you best? What combination of them, or go for it?
Yeah, I think 2 of them will play into my life at some point. Primarily, right now, my whys, like yours, I don't want to trade my time for wealth. I believe my time's too important and my family's time's too important. So it really is like this vehicle is what's going to allow me to quit my job and, provide a life for my family that I'm proud of. I want to spend more time with my family, finish the house they started 23 years ago, parents to focus on their health. So right now it is that time piece. And then I want to be able to have the time to work on projects I'm passionate about. I'm currently building a business, and I'm passionate about like food and business systems, and I want to be able to commit all my time there. But like down the road, I think it really will be like the helping those people who need it. Like I want that time so I can work on projects I'm passionate about, but those will bleed into, like what am I passionate about? And it is that impact piece that I really think will make my life more fulfilling. Because I know I'm not going to need the more money when I'm, 30 and in like 8-9 years, but I want to be doing something else more meaningful.
Awesome. And so that's the why. So let's do a little bit of how and go through the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die. And this is really more for you than it is for my guest in general. But the whole idea is I'll go through all 6 of these different roles so that you can communicate effectively on the topic of commercial real estate. So first, let's talk about what a repositioner is. A repositioner looks at a bunch of different properties and goes through all the paperwork. And what are they doing? Well, first of all, they're in acquisitions, which means they have to make sure that the property they're looking for or looking at is actually making the money that the seller says it is. But the whole repositioning piece is that they're trying to figure out what can they change so that that property makes more money than it does right now. Okay. And they've got a few different tools in their tool belt to do that. The first one has to be operations. In other words, cutting costs, adding efficiencies, stopping those Benjamins from going down the toilet. But of course, unclogging toilets and bookkeeping and things like that, that's not all that's to operations. There's also automating for the maintenance. And then there's also the marketing piece, which is one of my fortes that keeps the vacancy rate low. But a repositioner might end up having to super overexpose the camera and turn the light down. They might need to get a contractor team to fix it all up, make the units nicer, and then that way they can charge more in rent. And that is exactly what upside really is after all this is done. This camera is going bonkers. And so this is exciting stuff. All right. But if the repositioner has the operations team and they have the contractor team to make the place nicer, if you're like me and you're from the internet, you're going to need a local. You're going to need somebody who can be there within an hour or two, because that's not going to be there. That's not going to be me, because I'd have to leave the internet, and we can't have that, can we? But anyways, if you were to have all these people line up in a row and a tenant walks by and say, hey, who are all those people? They'd say, oh, they're the owners. But of course, it's never that simple. The bank always gets involved. If you want to get a property that's worth tens of millions of dollars, you need to go to a bank and say, hey, you got tens of millions of dollars so I can buy this property. And the financiers, that's also capital raisers and whatnot, they'll be looking at all this stuff, but they're also going to want to know one part that I haven't mentioned yet, which is they're going to say, who's your sponsor? Who's your KP? You are not going to be eligible for a loan on one of these properties unless you got somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. Again, if you want the loan, you got to have somebody in there who already owns, say, like if you're looking at a 350 unit apartment complex, then, you know, somebody has to own a 350 unit apartment complex, even if his name is Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. But there are a couple other things to making the deal. One is that you need a certain amount of liquidity, and then you also have to have a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you put all those pieces together, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Shaylin, as far as core competencies or roles that you're most comfortable taking on, what you got?
You know, to be completely honest, I'm not sure where I'm going to fit into those like roles yet. I can tell you what I think I'll enjoy.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, and then I'll tell you what the guidance is for that, because nobody's been honest enough to say I'm not sure, and so this is a great lesson for everybody. So just go for it.
Okay. I think that I would want to be like the repositioner, looking at like what is an actual good deal. So really that relationship building piece. I can see myself being a capital raiser, but I wouldn't feel comfortable approaching investors without personal relationships and like that trust in that repositioning piece, knowing that it is a good deal. So I think that financier option could come into play maybe 6 months, a year from now, after I've developed those like more stable relationships with people who are interested. So really it's just those two pieces, identifying the deals and possibly financing.
Right. Because the identifying the deals part, that's essential. And just so you know, like for 506Bs anyway, you're not allowed to just do capital raising. There has to be a box that you need to check somewhere on there. So maybe being a local would be a very good thing there, because then on paper, you know, you can get approved like that. Because actually the hat there with the 506B, that has to do with why I even use the word financier here. It's because the SEC restrictions are that you can't entice investors. You can't entice investors. So, you know, I don't even use it when I'm talking to anybody but you, because you're already an investor, right? So that's really the trick about that, is to know that you have to, you're not allowed to entice investors unless you have a prior existing relationship, and you're not allowed to do it publicly, like on a podcast. So basically everybody does have to be somewhat of a repositioner in the sense that you have to be able to underwrite and say, it's like, okay, well, anybody can just talk to a broker and say, all right, give me your best 5 deals or in this kind of size or what class or whatever. But as far as that goes, right now, you know, like it's always a team sport to take down a property. So as far as your team, what's a sweet spot for a property? And before we get too far on that, this is what you're looking for in an ideal property. Like when two commercial investors are talking to each other, if I say, what's your buy box or what's your ideal property, I'm really asking for like 3.5 things. The first one is geography. Where is it? What states, what counties, right? Second one is the unit count. Okay. Just how many units are there? The third one is class. And that's why I said 3.5, because it's actually 2 parts, both with the same name. I find that super annoying. One meaning of the word class is the condition of the property, and then the other one is like the proximity to schools, the crime rate, stuff like that. But both of them go off of, you know, A plus, B minus, just like school, A, B, C, all that sort of stuff. So as far as your circle goes, Shaylin, what's the ideal property as far as what you want to be looking through?
Yeah, so I'm looking at C plus, B minus class properties, 75 units in North in Reno or Vegas, tertiary markets primarily.
All right, awesome. And so yeah, we got that, and the unit count, good stuff. So the next thing too is who do you, again, remember the SEC restrictions, so you can't entice investors. But who in real estate is the person who can receive the most help from you? Me personally, it's definitely the sponsors and KPs that I need to know more of, just because I'm the internet guy doing all this podcasting stuff day in and day out. So they're the ones who I can help more than the others. But who are you better to create relationships with?
That's a good question. I think it would be also the sponsors. I guess the sponsors want deals to come to them, and they probably don't have a lot of time and money. That's what I'm gathering. While my why is time, I know there's upfront time and work that goes into like getting myself into that position. So like I'm at the point where I'm scrappy and I'm all in. So finding those deals, bringing them to them, be willing to like learn and listen is where I'm at. So I can add value to sponsors. And then additionally, I think you were talking about like that operations team and contractor team. And they're always looking for deals also, but they don't have any of their hands in the pot of like finding them or presenting the opportunities. So, I mean, Carson City and like Reno and Vegas, they're pretty tight, small communities. So there are contractors that come to mind when I think about finding a deal and being able to give them that opportunity to like work on a big project that'll be valuable for them and their families and their companies.
Right. And that's the thing that I think it isn't emphasized enough is so much about this business is you. It's just you. It's just like, what can you demonstrate, and you've really demonstrated the fact that, you're a go-getter, and that's what people are really looking for. I find that commercial real estate investors, they tend to recognize that, capital is always valuable, but time is very valuable too. And it's like, well, which one do you have more of? And if you're willing to chip in one or the other, it's like, who's going to say no? So, all right. So that's the ideal property and the person to reach out to you. What is the best way to reach out to you? We found each other on LinkedIn and through some meetups and stuff like that. So, is LinkedIn the best way to reach you, or is there a website that's better or something?
LinkedIn is great. I'm also happy just to give out a phone number and email. Super susceptible to a text or a phone call. Did you want me to give them to you now, or should I send them to you later?
If you want to go ahead. Like I actually like it when people say it, and the reason for that is because that way it forces anybody who's trying to skim the information, it forces them to actually type it out, and so that way it's not just copy paste, because that can be automated by bots.
Yeah, so the company name is multifamilyliving.com. We should have a website up in about a week and a half. LinkedIn, Shaylin Segura is the full name. And if you want to call me or text me, my number is 775-230-9460.
All right, awesome. Sorry?
The email for the multifamily living is multifamilyliving@gmail.com. So simple.
All right, beautiful, and that's all the way to get out and reach out to you. So the only thing that's left is actually for my lovely guest, my lovely handsome. I don't have my contacts in, so I can't see how lovely or handsome you are. But the thing I wanted to tell you, and don't think that I'm just buttering up because I want you to hit that awful red button over there. It's a big red button. It says subscribe on it, and it's ugly. Okay, so you should just hit it, and then it'll turn gray, because the gray one's so much nicer, and it means that YouTube will pay for these videos instead of me. So pretty please, with sugar on top, hit the button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it just means that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions, but you don't have to watch them. You've already done enough. You made that stupid red button turn gray, and it's better. So thanks for that. And Shaylin, thank you for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun.
It has been. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
All right, thanks.
I just want to tell you, because I've actually seen your website, Real Estate is a Scam, before, and I loved it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I think it's really so spot on. There's good stuff, bad stuff in every industry.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. For Dan the Man.
And thank you. Turn that subscribe button from red like his beard to gray like his beard will be.
So I met Dan through some networking groups for real estate investing. He's a great guy from what I know about him. He's very ambitious, and he makes it easy to come on with his questions, and has a great setup. It's easy, it's clear, concise, and I'd recommend going on his interviews for anyone that's considering it.
It was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was super fun. The process was so easy, a caveman can do it. I mean, if you guys haven't done it yet, you guys need to get on his calendar. Just take 15 minutes of your time, get exposure, find out who Dan is, what he's about. He's a true trifecta. And if you don't know who he is, get in touch with him. Google his name, find him on LinkedIn, do whatever you can. just reach out to them.
So I really appreciate the format. Like I've told you a couple times before, I think it's really great because me personally, I'm very long-winded. I have to purposefully make things more concise, but the way I take things in is I definitely prefer things to be concise and straight to the point and concentrated. And the chance encounters really do that great for individuals. So you can get a good grasp on who they are, what do they do, why do they do it, what space do they operate in. That's why I love chance encounters.